In this video, I'm going to explain to you what a function is and how it differs from a formula. Secondly, we'll look at the anatomy of an Excel function. And this understanding is going to help you in dealing with any kind of Excel function you will meet in the future. So, are you ready? Let's go. You may hear the two words functions and formulas being used interchangeably. I do this all the time. Technically, they are not the same. So, what's the difference? A formula is basically an expression that gives you the value of a cell. If I wanted to add these values, I could simply use an expression like 3 plus 8 plus 4 plus 5. This is hard coding the numbers. You don't want to do this. Instead, we can use the cell references. I'll talk about that in a future video. So do equal to 3 A3 plus A4 plus A5. And I should get the same results. Sometimes a formula is all you need to get the job done, but you can do so much more using Excel functions. If we needed to add up a larger data set like this one that has 100 numbers, then manually doing something like this plus this is quite inefficient and very time wasting. A function like sum will take all these numbers and give us a value. So let me quickly go through that. This is also much faster. So what's an Excel function? We've seen the power of an Excel function. At the time of this recording, Excel has over 500 functions. I see these functions like machines in our factories or even in the home, where we have each machine performing a specific function. So at home, if we had the task of making banana juice, we'll need a machine, which is of course the blender. We also need to put something into the blender. So we'll put in bananas, honey, and milk. And what do we get in return? You guessed it, banana juice. How does this analogy relate to an Excel function? Let's take a look at the anatomy of a typical function in Excel or any other spreadsheet application like Google Sheets. Excel functions have two parts. Let me explain with one of the most common functions in Excel, which is the sum function. It receives a range of numbers and gives you the sum total. Let me quickly rewrite the sum function. Called sum tab. Now, the first part of a function is the name of the function. In this case, sum. The part in bracket is what we call the argument or the parameter. So just like with the banana juice, the sum is the blender. These arguments or parameters are like the ingredients we put into the blender, which in this case is our sum function. And instead of returning to us banana juice, we receive a number. So for example, we input 4 and 5 and we get back 9. What do Excel functions return when we give them arguments, inputs, or parameters? That depends on the function and the arguments we give it. Example, the sum function receives numbers and returns to us a number. The if function receives a condition, evaluates the condition and returns a true or false value or other custom values we set. The concat function may receive text values and return to us a text. In an Excel function, some arguments are compulsory and others are optional. So for the compulsory ones, without those arguments, the function will not even work. Going back to our analogy, a banana is certainly a requirement for making banana juice. The other ingredients, like the milk, honey, water, are optional. It's the same principle with Excel functions. So how do you tell if an argument is required or not? That's simple. If we take a look at the sum function again, you will notice a difference between the first argument and the second argument. The first argument does not have a square bracket. The second one does. So in Excel, anytime you see something like this, it means that the very first argument is compulsory. The one in square bracket is not. So it means that this sum function should receive at least one argument. So let's try it out. Sum, let's say 4. We get back 4. We didn't have to add the other arguments. If you try to ignore this rule and do something like this, it will throw you an error saying that there's a problem with this formula. So always be sure to check out the hint Excel gives you in writing out your functions. There are some functions that receive no arguments at all. An example is the now function. It's a function that returns your computer system current date and time. The row function only receives one argument, and that argument is optional because we see that in square brackets. So we could just close out this function without inputting anything, and we still get a value, which is the row I'm currently on. I'll show you how to use this function to add dynamic numbering to a list. I'll be delving into some of the most common Excel functions you will need in your toolbox as a beginner, and how to practically apply some of these functions to make you stand out. Do hit the like button and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on future videos.